everybody. So I've been giving this presentation for 10, 12 years, right? I think the whole idea behind it was, because I'm an entrepreneur, people have asked me, okay, hey, how did you become an entrepreneur? Or how do you come up with your ideas? Which is sort of how this presentation came about. And so and it's not just me, right? The conventional wisdom is that entrepreneurship really is about ideas. And some of them are unique and nobody's ever thought of them before. In other cases, they're derivatives of other ideas, right? And or extensions or built upon ideas that were already in the marketplace, right, or in the public consciousness. But from my perspective, I've always found that it's come down to two things, right? Either entrepreneurship for me has come down from observation, sort of looking at what people are trying to do, or some of you refer to this as problems that people have that you are helping them try to solve. The other is trends, and I really really like the trends. What's going on within society, and how is society changing, and regulations and requirements, and how those things will potentially unlock opportunities, right? But let's sort of get into it. So what do you see, right? um, what you see is a young woman playing games, and obviously gaming is massive. I think I've had students do research on this. It's like 168 million people in the United States game. I think it's more than half of the population. And I'm not a big gamer. I don't game. I spent 3.5 years in the game industry, and so I pretty much got all the gaming out of my system during that time. And but this is a massive market opportunity. So you see somebody playing what GameStop, right? Even GameStop now is still relevant. They were the meme stock. It's very interesting. There's movies out now and a documentary on Netflix talking about GameStop and GameStop. But what GameStop saw was that people would play these games and they would beat them. They go pay $60. They play it, they beat it, they brag about the fact that they beat it, and they put it up on a shelf, right? The game. And so what they did is they created a marketplace. Go in, trade your old game, pick up a new game. Got an old game system? Great, come get a new game system. And it was a very popular marketplace. And they were big, 6 billion in revenues, and they had a net loss, but they're in the process of trying to restructure. But they still have a pretty reasonable market cap, lots of employees. So the company's still, they're not killing it, but they're still sort of chugging along, but created that marketplace, traded old games for new games. What happened? Why aren't they crushing it like they did before? Well, now you just go download the game, or you go play, online, and so you don't really people aren't going and buying games like they used to before. Although the Switch is a big deal, and people are really enjoying the Switch, and that requires you to go physically buy a game. And so that's where GameStop is still sort of crushing it, right? But this all came about because they saw this behavior. And then, of course, the App Store. It's got millions of games in it, and what app developers. So I'm referring to saying it's Apple, but really it came down to smaller developers saw was, you know, you like to play games, but maybe you don't have 30, 40 minutes to sit down. Who am I kidding? You don't have 5 or 6 hours to sit down and play Call of Duty. You're standing in line, or in some cases, you're in my business class, and you're bored and you want to play a game for a few minutes, right? And so these little games popped up, right? They're free to $10, and now they're even more than $10 because there's all these in-app purchases. But what the observation was, people wanted to game, but they didn't have the ability to do it. They don't want to have to wait till they got home. They still want to be able to kill small periods of time. And as a result, we've got billions of dollars that are generated in app sales, right? What do you see? Uh, uh, Most students will say, "Oh, it's like fun. Your trampolining looks great." The parents, people that I've got my older students that are like, "What I see is a trip to the hospital, right? The ER room, because there's no safety net around these things. I remember when my son was little, we bought a trampoline for him, put him in the backyard. He was so excited until we started to assemble the net, and that was going to go around it. And as soon as we put that up, he was out. Right? I think he wanted the danger, but the parents don't want the danger. And so, this is where these trampoline parks. These are a real big deal. Obviously, before COVID, during COVID, a lot of them shut down because nobody could go there. They started to come back, and these trampoline parks popped up because parents wanted a safe place for their kids to go bonsai. And if you've ever been to one of these, they're so much fun, right? Image on the left is dodgeball, and the image on the right is all those little black spots are just trampolines. You can go bananas, and kids pay. You're paying 12, $15 an hour times 120 kids, right? So you do the math. These things are making a fair amount of money. What do you see, right? You get these jumpy houses. It's great. These are so much fun until you get that one uncle that tries to go in after he's been drinking and eating too much carne asada, and then you got to pay the cleanup fee. So, but these are great, lots of fun. Downside, right, is that kids will go in and go nuts for what the first 20 minutes, and they get bored because all they're going to do is jump around in there. Which is why these other businesses, these jump house things, have sort of popped up. I had a student that was going to do one of these before COVID. I should reach out, see what she's doing. What she wanted to do was like pump it up where you could go put in, you know, 6, 8, 10, 12 of these things. So, and once again, I think she was going to charge like $6 an hour, $8 an hour. The kids, you could bring like your kids and they could go nuts, right? But she was talking about only limiting it to maybe 50 kids an hour. But she was still going to make thousands and thousands of dollars a day. But it really just came down to the fact that, the observation was kids get bored in those jumpy houses, and they want more variety. But parents want the alternative to Chuck E. Cheese, which is expensive and it's garbage pizza. And also, it's a great place to go catch Ebola. I mean, don't kid yourself. You get little kids going through those little tubes, and they're sneezing and wiping their nose, and that's a great place to go get a pretty gnarly cold, right? And so, how do you become an entrepreneur? By observation, and it really comes down to just paying attention, right? What are your friends and family trying to do? How are they behaving? What challenges are they encountering? And then that really becomes the basis for how you, as an observer, have the ability to maybe try to identify opportunities. And where is the pain? And but also, where's the pleasure? What are people trying to do? And becomes a great opportunity for an entrepreneur. My favorite is trends, right? What are trends? So for me, trends are, let's take a look at the population. Our population continues to grow and diversify. And so as our population grows, um, we have different needs, but it's not like there's 8 or 10 people have this need. Millions of people have this need. And we've got an ever aging population, right? The average age of somebody in our country is in the mid 50s now. And these are people that are either queuing up to retire, right? Or they are, they're sort of on that path. And when people retire, a bunch of different things happen, right? Their needs shift. And so I'm not in the retirement mindset at all. I'm never going to retire. I love doing this. So they're going to, hopefully I'll die in my office, hopefully after office hours, because I know I want to make sure I answer the students' questions, but I'm not a retirement type of guy. But there are people that are. But so when you retire, like we've got this big house, we sell the big house, go buy a small house. And instead of, spending money on college, now you're spending money on travel, right? Instead of spending money at the dry cleaner, now you're spending money to have a housekeeper or somebody to take care of your yard. There are shifts when the populations start to change, right? But then we've got these other generations. So like we look at Gen Z, right? The young people today, massive, the biggest a demographic group in the country, followed by by baby boomers who are aging. That's a massive market opportunity. That's the group I'm talking about. They're going to go from big houses to little houses, and they're going to go from paying for dry cleaning to paying for yard services and housekeeping, and they're going to, they're making these shit. I'm no longer paying for college. I'm now paying for travel, but they're not going to travel the same that you do, right? They're going to be traveling differently, and so you will begin to see if you do the work. There's going to be travel for people that have handicaps or some sort of mobility limitations, and so there's a huge opportunity for how do you create that environment where somebody that's in a chair or needs a walker can still have the same dynamic experience you do if you were to go somewhere. So there just really lots of brilliant opportunities, but it really all just comes down to uh, um, the fact that there are different stages of life, right? And so when we start thinking about market opportunities and we start putting people into different categories, you could see, right? We know for the most part, people get married, maybe not when they're 19, but maybe when they're 29 or 35. But for the most part, people are going to partner up in some form or fashion. They're going to have kids. They're going to buy houses. They're going to adopt dogs. They're going to get old and they're going to die. At each of those, if we go back and look at that this chart, you can see where millennials right now they're partnering up, they're having kids, they've gone through the dog adoption phase. You can see Gen Z later, older Gen Z, same thing, right? They're sort of right behind the millennials. Maybe how we work and interact in the workforce changes, but the reality is we're beings that need to be partnered up with other beings. That's just part of our makeup, right? Um, we also know that within an economy, we've got economies that expand and contract, right? But companies will always need money. They're going to need to hire people, fire people, buy stuff, sell stuff. They're either going to grow or they're going to fail. And each one of those stages, there are opportunities. There's opportunities to help them grow, and there's opportunities to help them fail. And how do you hire people in this new environment, right? This new generation post COVID. I just read this article on something called coffee badging, where um, people are being told come back to work, right? And they're coming back to work, but they're not. They're coming in for a couple hours, check in with people, have a cup of coffee. Hey, hey, hey! Of course Miguel was here. I just saw him, but Miguel left at 11, and now Miguel's gone. He goes back home to finish his work, right? And so, how do we begin to uh, uh, help businesses evolve? There's lots of market opportunities, right? Once again, how do you do this, right? You follow the data, and we really look at. It starts with reading a lot and trying to understand, what are people trying to accomplish. So people that are doing this coffee badging, where they just go into the office to make a guest appearance, if you will, right? They pop in so people see them, and then they leave. Why are they leaving? What is it that they're not getting from being in the office? Personally, I hate working from home. I wanted to be back in the classroom. I wanted to be back in my office. I wanted to see my colleagues and the students, and I need that, right? And I get so much energy from that. Even though I'm mostly an introvert, I get a ton of energy from being around that. But what are these people? What are they not getting from the workplace? And is there a way to maybe help companies evolve? I don't know. But we got to look. That creates market opportunities. And so, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? Do you think others might like it too? And really, just sort of piggybacking on the fact that we've got these massive demographic groups that are going through different life changes and making decisions. And as those decisions need to be made, there's market opportunities, right? And so here's some of my faves, right? What do you see? This is still one of my favorite ideas ever. And this, I don't know, I think I came up with this idea in like 2006 or something. Not unique, but what do you see? This is Abby. And this is Abby. She was such a beautiful, wonderful dog. All the life in the world. She's gone now, but what a great dog. What aren't great about dogs is this, right? They go to the bathroom and they cannot clean up after themselves. And so there's all these benefits of having a dog, right? Dogs, if you have a dog, you're going to live longer. Not a cat. Cats don't care if you die. Dogs love you forever. I know I'm going to get some emails for that comment, but dogs, it's specifically dogs, there's unconditional love. I've got three, and I come home from the college, And as I'm approaching the door, I hear Drew scratching at the door. Oh, he's so excited. And then when I come in the door, they're just like all three of them, they're losing their mind. And they're, they want me to come pet them, and they're so, it's like I've been gone for 5 years, and I just came back. That unconditional love, people live longer, right? But this is the downside, right? They just, they make little poopies, and it creates unsafe backyards. And if you got little kids, it becomes a problem, right? What's the solution? Dog duty and just a service. Now, these things pop up every once in a while, and but they do it sort of small ball, and I did not envision small ball, right? Weekly service. When I did the research, $40 was sort of what people were willing to pay. People are willing to pay like $70 now, $80 a month. You come clean my backyard once a week, right? I'd pick San Ramon to Benicia, 100,000 homes. That market opportunity is probably closer to $60 million today. And I figure, okay, great, you go get 10% of that, you got a $6 million a year business. And but you do it right. Everybody's, all the workers they're all clean. They look like UPS people, right? You pay them well, and so that when somebody's going into your backyard, the person you see back there is like, they look legit. They look like they belong there, right? And I think this could be a 10, $12 million business just within the loose Bay Area, right? This is one of my students' ideas. I love it. The whole idea was her uncle was going to give her a beater uh, RV. And what she wanted to do is to pit it, knock it, clean it out, and then turn it into a mobile salon. And I love that idea, right? You got no rent and fewer issues. But then it's kind of like, okay, where are you going to get customers? And we looked at, she thought, well, gosh, I could just go to like into business parks. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be too hard. People are working and they can only come out for lunch. And it means you're going to be busy for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a day. So we started looking at other areas where there are groups of people that would probably want these services. And she looked at the senior citizens centers that exist. There was like 68 of them around the Bay Area. There's probably more now. And she started calling them and going, hey, just doing market research. Is this something you'd be interested in? They all wanted to book her. And so we kind of built this business model around a salon experience. So the senior citizen gets on, and you got Oprah reruns running on a big screen, and that whole thing. And I love the idea. I think this thing could probably just print money, and you don't have to worry about rent and people breaking in, and you don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. I loved it. Love the idea. This is one of my faves. We've got people die, right, all the time, and the expense to physically bury someone is off the charts. And I mean, 30, 40 grand, 50 grand, maybe. I don't know. It's ridiculous. My father died a year and a half ago. He was cremated, but he wanted to be buried in a Catholic cemetery. So he was on the East Coast. He wanted to come back to the West Coast where his brothers were buried. And so Pop wanted to be buried in the holy ground in the Holy Sepulchre, I think it's called. I don't know how to pronounce it, in Hayward. And it was $11,000 to put this little box into the ground. Very, very, just for that. So very, very expensive. But for the most part, burying someone's expensive. So cremation is a big deal now. If you're Catholic now, the Catholic Church allows you to cremate. Most religions are perfectly fine with it. And so as a result, we've had tens of millions of people that have passed and are cremated. But what do you do with the ashes? It starts off with, okay, great, mom's going to sit on the mantle, right, in the prominent location in the living room. But then eventually, mom moves to a side table, and then mom moves to the back table in the back and then mom ends up in the garage, right? I mean, what do you do with the ashes? Because it's part of the grieving process is you sort of disconnecting a little bit. And so I say we because a bunch of buddies have kicked this idea around. Is we would create an environment where we could build a garden where the ashes could be folded into the landscaping. So if your mom, for example, loved roses, great. What we could do is we could fold her into the rose area. She gets put in with the dirt and the compost, and she becomes part of the fuel to grow a rose garden. And then instead of you going to a cold church, a cold cemetery, excuse me, a cold cemetery, now what you go for a walk through the park, right? And you clip a rose and take it home with you. So it's a very different sort of environment, and I think it's a much more uh, efficient and humane way to deal with the ashes, and it would be a fraction of the cost of trying to intern a box of ashes. Downside, nobody wants one of these in their city. You say you're going to take the ashes of dead people and you're going to put them into the ground, and you want it. People think it's like a Halloween joke, and they're not into it. Even though they're like, oh, I can't get into the water system, the water table, blah blah blah. It's all baloney. But at the end of the day, it will be a challenge. We've looked at, gosh, could we do this out in Sonomas, or where could we go do this where there's more land and people are less freaked out at the idea? And I don't know, we'll see. Maybe one of these days we'll be able to find a location. We thought we found a place in Vallejo, which would have been great, but they wanted us to like dig out all the dirt and then put like cinder blocks all around the inside. So we pictured like a 2 acre garden. So picture excavating 2 acres of dirt, putting in a retaining wall, cement all the way around the inside box and putting the dirt back in. We didn't even, yeah, it doesn't work. So, but brilliant idea. We just need to find the right place to do it. So these are some of my faves. So now what I want to do is I want to get to what are your favorite ideas, right? So I want you to go to Alibaba. It's still one of my favorite places, right? I love Alibaba. Uh, Alibaba. And I love it because, as I've said before, this is a great place to to come up with crazy ideas. And as I've home decor, I love this, right? I love the home decor, guns. That's not what I'm looking for, dude. So let's say we want to work on. So here's a good one. I've had a student do this, right? Several years ago, I had a student in one of my business classes come up with the idea for a not a new lighter, but what he wanted to do was to have a lighter, one of those torches. I guess it was a torch, but he wanted his designs on it, and so he was able to do that. It cost him like $1.75. He sold a ton of them, right? But look at this. These are interesting smoking kits, interesting with rolling trays. So, but the whole idea is that you then have, oh, money grinder. Look at this stuff. There's all kinds of really interesting products that you could buy and with the potential of you possibly selling them. So, the assignment for this week is for you to come up with 3 ideas. And I would like you to do that, right? Use Alibaba or don't use Alibaba. But come up with 3 business ideas. What are your 3 ideas? I gave you my 3. What are your 3? Hope this wasn't too long, wasn't too boring.